Hello indie game fans, took me a little while to check out the indie games of August, and man, there were quite a number of fantastic ones which I will run down in this video. Special mention goes to the not so indie Fall Guys, which absolutely took over the world, giving us some moments of light-hearted reprieve which we all need right now. But the top 15 best indie games of the month begins with Warriors of the Nile. This is a wonderful roguelike turn-based tactics game that has you controlling 3 unique characters, a warrior, archer and mage, with the ultimate goal of defeating the serpent and bringing the sun back. You can choose between random perks and upgrades after each round, and even has an equipment system and a meta progression layer tied into the upgrading of your base, all tied up with a wonderful aesthetic and excellent gameplay. This is from a 2-person team in China and looks like it has done tremendously well for them, so a great one for tactics fans. I love it when roguelites have a built-in reason as to why you are able to play run after run, and one that fits in nicely with this is Dreamscaper, set conveniently in dreams or nightmares. I do love the aesthetic of this, where the faces have no details and that soft, dreamy effect to the edges and lighting used, but don't be fooled. It is a very challenging action roguelite, which has seen a sudden resurgence, more on that later, and I will be keeping an eye on this through early access.
I love terrain. You cannot escape the storm.
I like the art style of Popup Dungeon since it is all papercraft, and the roguelike RPG nature of this is great as well.
Drag out!
My trusty stapler.
On top of the built-in campaigns, this also allows you to customize and build your own using some impressive tools, and is a great one for D&D fans.
You have my shield. Look out!
I love monster taming games, and I'm happy to report that Nexomon Extinction is pretty good indeed. This will be familiar to anyone who has played a Pokemon game, since it is focused on turn-based combat with type weaknesses, and the sheer variety and designs of the monsters in this is great. Some interesting tweaks of its own which makes the game unique systems-wise, and is a must-play for fans of the genre. One of the pleasant surprises for me in August was the roguelite FPS Roboquest, which did drop out of nowhere, though I did previously see it during one of those digital events. This is a very fast-paced game with extreme mobility and gunplay that feels great, where you play as a guardian robot and have to kick some metal butt.
Taka taka taka. Sick.
Interesting randomized roguelike perk system within a run, and a meta progression layer where you upgrade your base camp for permanent upgrades. This nails that gameplay loop and makes you go for just one more run. Where shall I start with Chronicon? This Diablo-style action RPG has long been in development, finally releasing in 1.0 after about 5 years in early access, and man, does it feel great to play. Graphically, it's a little simple but retains that same core compelling gameplay of slaying hordes of enemies and feeling like a god when you destroy your enemies. While it only has 4 classes, each has 4 skill trees, over 170 skills per character, and plenty of loot, crafting, transmutation, and endgame content to go around. It feels awesome to play and comes highly recommended for ARPG fans.
Hello, user. Program speaking. Actually, there's no game. Hey! What are you doing, user? I told you there was no game. Don't touch that! Will you stop?
One fantastic title that started off as a game jam game, There Is No Game Wrong Dimension, has been tremendously successful and is a meta-adventure minigame collection where the game tells you that there is no game, but poking and prodding at things like menus and even language options gradually reveals its secrets.
Where are we? What have you done, user? Oh no. We've probably entered a different video game dimension! Super cold. User! This still isn't our dimension! Is that a missed puzzle? Hero, stop running around in circles and fight!
I love exploration in games, and this is one of the best and cleverest examples of it, so do yourself a favor and pick this one up.
Well done, user!
It's the video ghost, Holmes.
Oh, this is most exciting.
We're never gonna make it home. We have to go back to our world, user! We have to go back!
A no-brainer pick, the sequel to one of the most beloved roguelites out there, Risk of Rain 2, successfully made the transition to 3D, which is very impressive, and retained some of the same awesome ideas that made the first game great.
“那是一个妖魔横行的失序世界，国家连年征战，恰逢天灾频频，乱世之下，人心不古，冤魂作乱。”
师弟，师弟，陆云传你铸成大错，今日将你逐出师门。
而斩妖人，即是平定一方妖魂祸患之人。
If you love gorgeously made games, then Eastern Exorcist will be of interest. This is a Souls-like action platformer with a decidedly Eastern theme where you hunt vicious demons and spirits. This is Metroidvania-like, in that while there is some backtracking and ability unlocks, areas are generally one and done, but still plenty of fun to be had with this. It feels pretty complete, with early access planned for 3 to 6 months, and is mainly lacking in more story content and areas. Fantastic first impression, and I'll wait for this to be done. Speaking of sequels and fantastic early access titles, the sequel to the title that got me into indie games in the first place, Rogue Legacy 2 is absolutely fantastic, providing a tougher challenge than the first, adding new weapons, genetic traits and more, while retaining more of what made Rogue Legacy feel like Rogue Legacy. Similar to the excellent Hades, this has a countdown timer on the title screen that will tell you when the next update is coming, which is a much welcomed change and shows people that the game is in active development with set goals. However, it's a little short on content at the moment, but I have every confidence that this will turn out excellent.
The consecrated fires revealed cinders and shadows. But beneath it all, no monsters, no gods, only oblivion.
Many people have tried their hand at a Souls-like RPG, often falling short and just missing that it factor, but Mortal Shell is an exception. If you are familiar with the subgenre, this has a stamina-based, weighty feeling combat system, which is par for the course, but manages to add in a new unique mechanic of hardening your shell like a metapod to stun enemies, which can even be activated mid-combo. It's a smaller experience for sure compared to most Souls-like games, but certainly worth a play. I have a huge soft spot for farming sims, and Littlewood is a must-play in my opinion. If you ever get stressed out from the time pressure in these games, which is the total antithesis of why you should be playing one of these, the passage of time here is tied to your actions, relieving much of that stress. There's a wonderful world to explore, villages to befriend and perhaps fall in love, with even a collectible card game, farming, fishing, mining and all that good stuff, and is a much needed cozy experience in 2020. We are really drowning in great roguelikes this year, with the 1.0 release of Undermine being of interest. You play as peasants sent into the Undermine to search for relics and treasure, and if you do die, there's always fresh meat for the grinder. I like that you're given the ability to jump in a 2D top-down type of game, which adds some interesting skill-based options in combat, with the all-important meta progression layer in this being very compelling as you rescue shopkeepers and upgrade your tools. Such a great game which should make the best of the year list without problems. Back to a very cozy game with Spiritfarer, where you play as the fairy person of the dead, guiding these animal spirits to their final resting place. The subject of death is certainly a bit touchy, but one that should be talked about more, and this game is an avenue for doing so. Despite the rather grim subject nature, it's a wonderfully pleasant experience about giving and receiving hugs, gathering resources to make your ferry as comfortable as possible, and to take on side missions and objectives to help these spirits let go. There's quite a variety of activities, from cooking, fishing, farming, mining, and so on, not to mention mini-games like a rhythm game for example, all set up primarily within the context of a 2D platformer. It is also fully playable in co-op, though I have heard stories of parents having some trouble explaining this game to young kids, so bear that in mind, but a fantastically well-made game that is another no-brainer. I was actually expecting Factorial to be fully released in September, but the developers managed to get it done about a month ahead of schedule. This factory building title is horrendously compelling, so much so that people have given it the nickname Cracktorial, since it is as addictive as crack cocaine. A survival base building game at its core, exploit the planet's natural resources to build a spaceship to escape, all while fending off alien creatures. Some of you did point me towards Mandalore Gaming and his review of Factorial, which is excellently done, so do give that a watch, and if you have any love for PC gaming at all, do follow along on that channel as well. Back to Factorial, the trailer that you're watching is actually a 1:1 remake of the original early access version, but with the updated graphics, showing us how far it has come, but the core gameplay loop remains as compelling as ever, with endgame content being added in the final release version. If you love city builders and tycoon style games, this will rob you of many hours of your life for just being that good, so here's my warning, but it takes the #1 spot. To see more of the big picture, check out these awesome videos, and I will see you after the jump.